When Stanley came to a set of two
아,
open doors,
정신병
he
걸릴
entered
것
the
같다.
door on his left. This was not the correct way to
이거-
the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
그냥 같은 루트를 두 번
Wow.
가면은
Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room.
같은
But
루트를 두 번
eager to
가면은
get
뭐가
back to
좀
business,
바뀔 것 같은데.
Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
어? 아,
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go
어차피
up
지금
to his
화장실
boss's
가면
office.
똑같음. 밑으로
Hoping he
내려갑시다.
might find an answer coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in
진짜네.
such a competitive economy, why had he taken
이게
that
왜
risk?
발소리가 날까?
All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think
말이
he
안
was
보이는데.
crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet?
아,
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
아, 나레이션 이거 봐.
When
비꼬는
Stanley
거 봐.
came to a set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section,
Oh,
walked
놀래라.
straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
뭔 말이야?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
여기는 그냥 번지 루트인가?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
소리야. 오 씨발.
That's
에이.
her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
안 움직인다.
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
(1분만) 기다려 봅시다. 이거 1 지나갈 때 제가 이거 이거 게임이 사람 가지고 논다. 미친. 이거 그거 같다 지금. 저 뭐냐. 그 톱으로 자기 다리 잘라서 나온 그 게임 있잖아요. 영화. 사람 갖고 노네. 아니 이거 I를 누르지 말라고 해놓고 안 누르면 진행이 안 되는데 수호 같아. 그래 누르면은 누를 줄 알았지. 일단 1분만 진행이 안 되는데 어떻게 안 눌러.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I
뭐야? 이건 뭐야? 아, 아까 전에 사무실 바뀌었을 때 그냥
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
그루트 그대로
Stanley
갈
decided to go
걸.
to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
이거 어쩔 수 없다. 이건 왼쪽 방으로 들어가서 어차피 오른쪽 방도 하고 있거든요. 지금 보니까.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he
오른쪽
entered the
방에서
door on his
루트가
left.
어차피 사무실 가는 거고 밑으로 내려가면은 오른쪽 방 다른 루트 없잖아. 없어. 왼쪽 방에서 제가 봤을 때 그 저 아까 오프 누르고 2회차로 들어가면은 사무실이
Yet
바뀌어요.
there was not a single person here either.
그걸로
Feeling a
엔딩
wave
봅시다.
of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
아, fucking, 열받아. 와, 대박. 가지고 논다. 완전 가지고 논다. 와. 봐봐. 바뀌었다. 바뀌었다.
Stanley walked straight ahead
아니네.
through the large
똑같네.
door that read Mind Control Facility.
바뀐 줄 알았어.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
오케이. 여기까지 안다. 빨리.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under
빨리
someone's
2회차로 가야
control
돼,
all this
2회차로.
time? Was this the only reason he was
2회차가
happy with his
내가 봤을 때
boring
진엔딩
job?
같습니다.
That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy
저기는 뭐지?
or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
저긴 뭐야?
And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
저 위에 있는데 저기는 뭐지? 어떻게 갈 수가 없네. 이거 어떻게 버튼을 누르면은 뭐 클리어 되는 게 혹시 비밀이 있는 건가? 아니야. 이게 저 2층에 있는 건 4고 저쪽에 5 있어요. 5 여기 있잖아. 5.
And when at last he found...
미치겠다.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
소름 끼친다고.
He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened,
예차로
Stanley
갑시다.
reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
자, 이제 사무실이 바뀌거든요. 이거 보고 나면은 이렇게 해서 이 루트 그대로 가봅시다. 그래서도 안 되면 그냥 끄자. 답이 없다. 봐봐. 어?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
이거 또 사무실이 똑같아.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
내가 뭘 잘못한 거지? 아이고 미쳤다.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
사무실 바뀌는 게 랜덤인가? 뭐가 언제 저녁이었다고요? 이거 엔딩이 있긴 있습니까? 아 짜증난다 또 지금.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
아 그냥 뭔데야. 아.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
이거
he
지금
entered the door on
루트
his
다 판 거
left. This was
아닌가?
not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire
이거
it.
말고 다른 루트가 있나?
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
배경이 바뀌었다고? 배경 똑같은데?
Stanley was so bad at following
바뀌었습니까,
directions,
조금?
it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
다 다른 엔딩입니까? 이거 지금 일로 가면은 그거 죽는.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another,
전화 안 받으면
then
어떻게 돼?
pick up the phone. As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double-check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
뭐냐?
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
가야 되나? 근데 전기선 또 뽑아야 되나? 뽑혀 있구만. 야, 미친놈 이거. 야, 이제 번지도 못하게 해놨다. 그냥 딱 이게 이제 정해진 그 길로만 가야 되는 것 같다. 그죠? 따로 이렇게 할 수가 없다 이제.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
봐봐, 이게 내가 처음에 뛰어내린 게 내만 뛰어내리는 게 아니라니까. 게임에서는 모두가 뛰어내리고 싶어. 와, 미치겠다. 들어가야 되나? 와, 통로 문 또.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
이거.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
뭐냐? 야, 이거 클리어가 다 온 것 같다. 보니까. 기다려봐. 새끼가 사람을 가지고 놀아. 이거 바닥이 문일 수도 있다. 이런 미친놈의 게임 한두 번 해본 게 아니기 때문에. 네가 이기나 내가 이기나 해보자. 엔딩이 없는 게임이 어딨어.